Thank you for joining the webinar. Warm welcome to one and all. This is Manju, works as Systems Architect at Honeywell Technology Solutions. In today's webinar, we are going to talk about IoT and connected world and hosted by HackerEarth. I would like to take this opportunity to share my views on IoT and future of connected world. Let us look at the agenda for the day. IoT is fundamentally changing the way we live. Buzz around IoT gets louder. Connected technologies become the norm. Maybe it's a time to take a step back from both internet and things to understand the true promise. In this new circumstance, we require to understand new customers, partners, different kinds of use cases, and also new challenges. In today's session, we'll talk about mindset towards the IoT thinking, why IoT is important, how IoT is going to change the way we are doing today, how ecosystem shaping up to support IoT business, some of the key challenges, opportunities, and real-time use cases. At the end, we will also have Q&A session time. Hope we will have something to learn from today's session. So if you talk to number of peoples on what is IoT, probably you may get as many number of definitions on IoT. Even before we get to the definition, I would like to make it clear about mindset needed to get to the true understanding of IoT and what is connected things. There is a strong need to look at entire opportunity space with open mind and also with different shades of lenses. Reason being that having a mindset of things will be the core for the business, and things will emulate new opportunities beyond traditional customers is key to this mindset. In IoT world, things are going to be customers. Things can act behalf of customers. Things can do a lot more than what they are doing today. These devices or the things can allow us to get to the new level of being a relationship with the system, or be it the customer, or be it the end user, or with even to the enterprises. With this approach, customer experience is going to take a new twist in the IoT era, with many customers not even being an human beings. As traditionally, we used to interact with lot of human beings to make definite decisions. If I want to take an example to give some more context to the how things can change and how mindset needs to be. If I'm an engine provider or an OEM to a electric car manufacturing company, if an electric car is using my engine and car being parked for charging a battery, given this context, in the new connected things offering, the charging station or even the car can send lot of diagnostics data and lot about how charging is going through, how car is performing, All this data can be even sent to the OEM manufacturer like me, even to the car manufacturer, and even to the battery manufacturer who would be interested in knowing how the battery is performing. If we look at the few years back, to get to these kind of data from the car or the engine, even on the battery related thing, there used to be an challenges in terms of getting the right amount of data and also in the right time. In the connected things scenario, car or even a charging station can send real-time information and precise information back to any of these vendors or the customers or the manufacturers who are interested in this data to improve the performance of an engine, can be a car, can be a battery, and overall experience. This is possible only if we start look at the things as your customers or the customer agents. So this is the mindset what I was talking is we need to understand before we get too far on the IoT. Things are becoming smarter, being used in a lot of day-to-day devices. Because of the smartness and because of the connectedness, IoT is fundamentally changing the way we are living, way we are doing the business. As a lot of devices which are connected, there is huge amount of data that is being produced. There needs to be a new way of approaching how to gather the data, how to interpret the data, what can be understood as an proactive, what can be used to provide insights. Whole new way of thinking has to come through this mindset of Internet of Things. Having said that, why IoT now? Why not later? As I mentioned, IoT is fundamentally changing the way we do the business, the way we live, and more things being connected. And as connected things are creating more data than ever before, to act on these data, so we need whole new set of approach to leverage the connected things. We need to look from altogether new perspective. This only comes through unconnected devices, and thinking these connected devices create a lot of meaningful data. This is all part of digital journey, as many of the experts says. Digital experience is kind of addictive. It enters our life through, most often than not, through smartphones or tablets, even our interaction with infotainment systems in our cars. Digital interaction is pervasive, and it can be an highly flexible, and it also can be available on demand. Because of all these attributes of digital interaction, this can lead to less friction and also enhance our experience with the way we deal with the things. As things around us becoming more intelligent day by day, so these changes would lead to a change in the business models and business disruptions. There is a more emphasis on digital business from many enterprises. So Internet of Things create new opportunities for the innovation, improving the value chain in terms of how we do the business, what we serve to the customers, how we can help the customers in a better way. And also because of all the data available, all the connectivity with the customers and things, also this would lead to a new innovation and understand the customer pain points in a better way. So let us look at the how connected things can shape our approach to the Internet of Things. The promise and potential value coming from connected offerings cannot be overlooked at this stage of IoT journey for various reasons. As we are familiar with the notation, actions leads to reaction, but in digital world, action leads to an exponential growth in reaction. Connected things advantages could be anything from improving safety, productivity savings, operational efficiency, even the convenience of the individuals who are interacting with the system or the device, or even with the customers. When we have a scenarios of people connecting to the things, also we have a scenarios of things connected to a things. There are huge shift in terms of the use cases that would be arising and the business opportunities, and also the way businesses are going to approach this whole new gamut of use cases. So let us take an example where individual or a people connected to things. As a person who wears a fitness tracker or a fitness device, to that person, to him or her, would definitely change the views towards day-to-day fitness regime. With that, hopefully, that would lead to an better health, perhaps even lower health costs. So in this scenario, when somebody is so keen on getting their body vitals, knowing their daily patterns, sleeping pattern, the walking pattern, and their activeness, given this context, how the clinical systems would going to evolve or going to approach things, or even the insurance agencies who interact with this kind of new set of people would definitely going to be a change in the way they're going to interact. This is all possible because the way things are connected, way things are generating data, and way we gathering the data, and which is translated into something the useful and something is meaningful. In the scenario of enterprises, so if we look at the emerging of bots, something which is changing the user interactions with the things. Bots are nothing but self-intelligent entities that would have an ability to understand and learn the things over a period of time through an intelligence that has been built. In near future, average person will interact or converse with the bots more often than with their spouses. So going forward, we are more likely will have more and more interaction with these bots. Probably we might not even know that we would be interacting with the bots. What this says to the enterprises, the use of these bots are very much encouraging for enterprises to improve this service, to understand what user needs and help their user experience, either through an voice interactions, even through text. So these kind of new offerings are possible only because of the capabilities that are going to be built onto the things through an artificial intelligence or natural language processing capabilities or even different levels of IoT stack. So we will talk about IoT stacks little later. By having said that, when things are connected and when you have more people are interacting with the things, when there are a lot of things are interconnected and there is a new set of use cases are coming into picture, we also need to understand each use case and each application has to be looked at entirely with new set of thinking. We also always need to remember one size of solution may not fit on different kinds of applications. So let us look at the outlook on IoT and digital business perspective. So it is important to understand the big picture of IoT marketplace and understand true potential, what that could give an insights to look at the things with a different lens and approach the problem a whole new way and innovatively. As many of you know that the tons of market research available on the net and lot of data when we start looking at, if we don't really put the context, that may confuse completely. To set the context for this topic, I have taken few data points that would help to set a tone for rest of our conversation this evening. Gartner estimates internet connected things will outnumber humans. Already Pandit says we have more things than our whole population. If that is so, pretty soon individuals will have more than few devices connected to internet. It's a powerful statement and it's an encouraging things to look at. If that happens, billions of devices connected to the internet, one or the other way. So that would open up tons of new possibilities and also new challenges to solve and to encash all these connected devices capability and serving the new services or even to the new offerings. These kind of dynamics would change enterprise on their approach towards even the marketing, even how do they sell these devices, and also how do they serve these customers. There is a whole new shift in terms of entire business approach may go into change. Another thing, if we are keen on understanding where the innovation and IoT penetration happening, again the Gartner research which has been depicted in a pictorial format on the right hand side of the slide. If you look at the picture, the consumer applications are about 60% of total IoT applications in 2017. The majority of applications in consumer space would be around automotive, infotainment, and home automation. If you look at the business side, there are vertical specific applications being depicted and also cross industrial applications that cuts broader across multiple verticals. These use cases are the varying from healthcare, the transportation, manufacturing, banking and retail. Many of these verticals are going to have an potential benefit from Internet of Things and doing things in a different way or connected technologies way. There is a huge shift and encouragement to look at the cross-industrial aspects, be it related to an energy, be it related to an physical safety, be it, be it related to an facility automation, the rest of the things. With this kind of an outlook, definitely we need to look at what are the barriers that would come in front of us and how do we look at these top barriers and the move forward. Most of the traditional companies who made their presence with great products over a long period of time are struggling to get their feet on IoT ground because of the way things are happening, the way businesses need to be structured, and the way the customers needs to be addressed, and whole new set of thinking needs to come in place to keep moving with IoT world. In digital world, many companies are struggling to understand emerging use cases and new customers. Given the new scenarios, when the traditional companies whom they were thinking their traditional competitors may not be the competitors in this new given digital context. Even more, even some of the companies whom they never thought they would be their competitor, they may be already eating their pie. This is a whole new scenario which is everybody is trying to make their best effort and get the advantage of connectedness and connected offerings, how that can help them in giving better service to the customers and also make good business out of the leveraging the connectedness. Security and privacy concerns are one of the topmost barriers in this IoT world, given the context of the more number of devices are connected and you have a bigger attack area surface, and there are a lot of people who are interested in knowing what things are doing and how others are doing. So there is a huge top to bottom and bottom up approach is needed in securing things as well as entire value chain of applications in this IoT world. As the more number of devices on the market, and it add that much complexity in terms of interoperability and different protocols being used across different products and different sensors and different edge devices, that makes that much of difficulty on the integration complexities. Also, as this IoT and connected technologies looks very exciting, there are a lot of new technologies is comes and goes. Some stays, and even before many individuals know there is some technology, it would be already vanished. So this is another challenge in terms of knowing how soon you get hold of the technology and make a decision of the right technology that fits to your products and that fits to your services. In this new context, for the traditional companies who have a bigger baggage in terms of their offerings, also there would takes an courage to make a decision in which way you should be moving, looking at the products which may be out in the market and serving the customers over a period of time against the new trendsetters that may need to look at your entire offering in a new way. So all these, the challenges and the barriers may stop the progress or make businesses to look or slow down their entry into the IoT world. Having looked at these barriers, so let us look at some of the key influencers in recent times to get the leaf out of IoT. As we know, sensors are becoming more smarter and cheaper, and we may be using many sensors in day out in whatever the devices we are using. As we know, we are all more hooked up to the smartphones, and when we are at the leisure, we may be hooked up to the televisions. The smartphones are becoming the persona of an individual. The smartphone or the apps in the smartphone knows where you are, what you are doing. Are you at work or the leisure? Are you indoor or outdoor? Is it phone near to you or phone is kept away? So these kind of things are only possible with the advancement in the sensors and accuracy of the sensors and the way the sensors interact or the way the sensors informations are collated and extrapolated, the information coming from multiple sensors. So this is definitely one of the clear advantage in terms of sensors are becoming more smarter and the more cheaper. That is giving a big push for the IoT and connected things. The reliability of the wireless connection and affordability of the wireless connection is on the positive trend. As we are using day in, day out, the internet and the way we used to use the devices few years ago and now, we can see that how the bandwidth and how the connection is shaping up to more connected to the things and more connected to the internet. And often, so we would be getting live information from everywhere. And also we talked about the billions of interconnected devices that would help and bring in a lot of new possibilities one to look at. With this, as we talked about, one of the key barrier is the security and the privacy. Let us look at a little more in deep what that means to achieve Internet of Things or establish an Internet of Things system. With great power comes with great responsibility. So we are all familiar with the watching fantasy movies since our childhood. Like all new technologies, the Internet of Things brings both benefits and the disruptions. With the concept of always on or always available, which makes more prone for the disruption in terms of people can get access to these devices, people can get control of these devices and also make these devices behaving in the way they're not expected to behave. So if we look at the IoT, the security, so we cannot look or we cannot focus on laser pointed we have to look at the holistic approach based on the product, based on the use case, and based on the customer, and based on the deployment environment. So we all know we have a traditional and the one which are in use on the IT network. They're all more of an enterprise oriented, be it an ERP and any of the HR systems. On the industrial side, there is a huge attention which is coming on securing industrial networks, be it in connected to an field devices, be it in connected to an edge devices, and even connected to an SCADA machines. So when it comes to an connected technologies, which talks about connected homes or even the wearables which are going to connect into our personal networks, all these, if you look at the security should be a prime focus in terms of how well you protect your end device, how well you protect your network, and how well you protect the wherever you are storing the data, and how well you access your information, and how well you protect from others to get into your device and get inferences of what's happening. Having said that, so what this says is the holistically security practices has to be looked by design. It cannot be an afterthought in the connected world scenario. There is a lot of emphasis has to be provided on authentication, validation, how well those devices are discovered, device profiling, who uses, when are they going to use, how are they going to use, what level of information needs to be provided. So all those things has to be taken into account on all levels of the IoT architecture. So let us look at what kind of architecture would help to overcome the barriers and also give a lever to look at the many possibilities that can be achieved. So if you look at the blueprint which has been depicted here, so integration of IoT technologies varies among companies and industries and also across different applications. So implementation of right IoT solution requires understanding of all the layers which has been depicted from L1 to L6, and also bringing in a lot of design, discipline, and the practices that are needed to ensure on the security aspects and in terms of the interoperability aspects, in terms of the scalability aspects, in terms of the connectivity aspect, in terms of connecting to various kinds of networks and various kinds of devices. It's all again depends on what is the solution, where the solution going to be deployed, and how this solution going to be consumed. If you look at the level 1, which talks about the lot of sensors and interconnection of those sensors, and sensors are connecting to an level 2 to an edge device, or even that can be an dumb sensor, even can smart sensor can directly connect to a gateway, or it can be and directly connect to an home gateway to the rest of the world. So what we are seeing is with the emergence of sensors from battery power to an power hungry devices to an energy harvesting sensors to an low end sensors which are of less precision to an combi sensors which are of providing multiple sensor values, sensing values to the edge device and to the upwards. So this says is you have whole different types of devices or the sensors would be coming on your L1. Different kinds of protocols would be there, and different kinds of network connectivity elements would be there. So when we considering to conceptualize a network, we should understand how to abstract the network connectivity, how to abstract these sensors, how well you connect, and how you can bring the interoperability across the sensors is the key. I'm not going to talk too much details about how are we going to design. We're going to talk about what are the things that are needed from the context of developing an IoT layered approach. The edge devices can be an intelligent device which can gather information from the many sensors. Edge device can act as gateway by itself by combining L2 and L3, or edge device can connect to an intermediate gateway which can send data to an common secure place where the data can be stored. As we all heard and worked with cloud or even know about cloud, needs to be an in the secure network, and it has to be scalable, looking at the merit of the application, looking at the cost of the implication, and also looking at what is the economy of scale in terms of what is the right configuration. Generally, people believe cloud is cheap, provided if you take care of what is the real configuration needed in terms of number of devices needs to be connected, when you need to scale up, when you need to scale down. Otherwise, cloud can be really expensive without you knowing how much you're paying out. The value coming from gathering from L2 and L1 to a cloud is where you'll have a common place where you can get access to different kinds of data from all together connected sensors and edge devices. So now when you have an power, when you have an data which is accumulated, now where the power comes is through bringing the right skilled analytics and right models and right interpretation of data would give you the insights that could help to serve customers better, that could help to improve the product, that could help to improve the services, even to bring down cost of your serving. Where level 6 comes is the consumption. How well or how do you establish stickiness with your customer is through constantly providing the value add to the customer or to the business that would come through an consumption in terms of understanding the real pain points, helping the customers to improve over a period of time, and providing right kind of tools, right kind of interfaces where others can start consuming your APIs or be it your SDKs or be it your intelligence. That's where the whole benefit and whole the power of IoT can be exploited through the 6 layers that has been depicted. So we're talking about not only the one solution. So we are also talking about understanding different use cases, different customers. How can you make IoT as a platform? How can you leverage these connected things to talk to different systems and leverage the advantage of connectedness, how well you can serve. This slide talks about the different possibilities and how you can think of making an IoT platform to get the best advantage. As we talked about, the endpoints are the level 1 devices or sensors, and level 2 edge devices becoming more and more intelligent and more smarter, and which can do a lot work compared to what it used to do earlier. So now we have the sensors, promising device that can give and right amount of data and right information on the real-time basis. Now the connectivity that needs to be designed or developed, thinking at there could be an different kinds of things or different kinds of networks where the edge devices would potentially get connected to. The edge devices can connect it to an enterprise-owned things where some examples like it can be a factory where a lot of equipments would be generating data. It can be in hospital where you have many medical equipments, even the retail place where you'll have a lot of vending machines and other point of sale devices that would be generating large set of data. So this, if you look at how you need to connect, would be and totally different from how that needs to be connected to an traditional enterprise system. Sorry, information IT systems. On the customer owned things, again, we talked about there are a lot of things it can connect to any different way to the customers. If we look at as I'm an engine manufacturer, if I can provide my engine to an X company, if I need to connect to my engine and get the engine performance data and performance details, and if I need to give and better insights in terms of how engine is performing, how that engine can help the larger product, in that case you would need an connectivity to an engine through a customer owned things or the network. This can be a totally different approach you may need from considering your device connecting to an enterprise owned setup. Similarly, there could be another type of connectivity that would be needed for the partner owned things. If you look at the scenario where you may lease some equipments or you may lease some of the services from the third party. Examples, suppose in a factory floor or even on the warehouse, if you have an fleet trucks which are owned and operated by third party, if you need to understand how those fleet trucks are being used and how well you can utilize their fleet trucks, then you may need to get to the access to the data that has been generated. So in these cases, we may need to think in a different way, and we may need to connect to the different networks in a different fashion from the perspective of the lot of the security needs and the way the devices which can interact and where you access the data could be different. So all these approaches needs to be looked at based on the merit of the application. And if you want to platformize your IoT offerings, again, we need to look at how these connections between enterprise-owned things and the customer-owned things or the partner-owned things can be brought onto the same level where you can interact and collect the data and send the data, and you can help to improve the overall the business or overall serving and the customers. So I'll move on to the IoT, the technology disruption areas, and that would be interested in many of us to understand where these disruptions are coming. And if we look at, there is no different here in terms of the way we talk about the disruptions here, in terms of the level 1 and the level 2, where the lot of the combo sensors and a lot of edge devices are becoming more powerful and they're becoming more connected, and they also can do a lot more different activities than it used to do earlier. And lot of disruption would come on the wireless communication area, and where IoT communication space is in the midset of standards and protocol battle. Still, there are a lot of protocols being emerged in terms of serving to specific needs, and be it in personal area network protocols, or even the LAN area network, even the wide area networks, and a lot of protocol changes and improvements are happening in these areas, and how well you integrate back to your things and how well you connect back to the external world is where a lot of the research and the disruptions are going to come. They're looking at the applications, be it an internal or be it an external applications. When you talk about internal application, it could be an optimizing of the resources or the reducing the cost to serve to improve the productivity and improve the security and safety of those, either the individuals who are using or the whole ecosystem. There is a whole lot of the new the research and a lot of activities being happening on these verticals, and there is an lot of emphasis on bringing the intelligence onto the edge device and bringing an proactive decision making capability with the influence of bringing in artificial intelligence and bringing the deep learning techniques onto the systems or on the higher side of the uh, disruption areas. If you look at the some of the use cases, we are almost running out of time. I'll move quicker. And here the use cases we're talking from connected homes, and in the connected homes, if you look at the sector, segments, the home segment or even the community segment, there are a lot of verticals or the vertical applications which are related to awareness of the safety, the comfort and convenience, and entertainment of the infrastructure. These are the places where a lot of the work being done and a lot of people are trying to solve the customer needs or the problems of the one way or the other with the help of their product offerings. If you look at the Honeywell, there are a lot of product offerings which are there in fire safety, security, access, lighting, so and also on the climate control. Some of the connected applications which are coming from connected homes and the building space are related to an energy management, the smart environment, the health and wellness, and smart infotainment. There is a huge opportunities coming with having the knowledge of the domain and also understanding your customers. There is the big shift in terms of the way the traditional businesses used to serve, and the way things are going to be served are going to be the big shift in terms of the approach and in terms of giving the service and in terms of reaching the people. Similarly, on the connected buildings, there is no difference in terms of the end applications. We can see and how IoT platform approach could help in converging at the different applications that can cut across connected buildings or the connected homes in terms of helping the solving uh, the needs of the smart environment or being an energy management or even the real-time alerts through having an different set of industrial devices which can be an fire safety device or security or access and the HVAC kind of a devices. Connected buildings we talked about. Now, if you look at the connected industries, the segments could be a little different, the more than what you see on the buildings or the homes. Here you'll have a lot of applications would be around the asset management, the resource automation, the process automation, the infrastructure management, even on the supply chain aspects. But if you look at the end applications in terms of serving all these segments or the verticals could be with the platform approach. So you can look at bringing how you can make your solution and the serving in terms of asset tracking or worker safety, even helping in terms of managing and energy better and helping in energy management and the safety environments. So some of these the use cases are some of the places where Honeywell is predominantly focusing on the energy management, safety and security, the worker safety, the remote management and asset tracking kind of applications where IoT and connected world or connected buildings offerings is helping, and where there is a lot of potential in terms of serving the customers better and also bringing up with new offerings to help to be more productive, more safer, and bringing in more convenience. In addition to the use cases what we talked about, there is the huge opportunity, and also we know the challenges. If we look at how to solve these challenges, probably we may find new products and the new solutions that can help and bring in new services to the end users. As more and more devices and more things are connected, we'll have an advantage of getting variety of data, the volume of data, and the velocity of data. To get to that, we need to have a systems that are scalable, that are ability to scale up and ability to gather the data and ability to integrate the different set of devices. So those are the challenges needs to be looked at if you want to get the advantage of connected devices and variety and volume of data. As I already mentioned, one size fit all approach would be a killer in this kind of varied customers and varied environment. There is a rapidly evolving new disruption in terms of new use cases and numerous computing and fragmented standards and the protocols where you need to understand what is the right protocol and right kind of information that needs to be exchanged and how well you can protect. So and if we get to the bottom of some of these, the fundamental things related to security and some of the related to choosing a right kind of a protocol, right kind of the communication approach, there is an abundant use cases and there is abundant applications where we can serve the customers in a better way and also in a productive way. So I'll open up for Q&A. If somebody is asking about different business models about the IoT. Yeah, so here, I mean, in my view, and before we talk about business models would evolve by understanding what is the use case in terms of understanding what are the customer pain points and what are their needs, and based on that the business models can be developed. So in the context of in the health and the fitness kind of a products, when you have that, they could be the models in which where you can reach the customers or where you can reach the end user through an altogether different channels and different models compared to the enterprise kind of an application. So another question about the implementing IoT in a large scale, what kind of servers storage need to be used? So when we talk about different kinds of sensors and different kinds of data that coming from different kinds of devices, it can be binary data, it can be a stream of data, it can be an blob kind of a data. To cater to the variety of data, then we need to have a storage system that can help and that can handle different types of data. In this type, probably in the IoT context, where you have a NoSQL kind of a data storage would help in terms of collecting and interpreting or accessing different data, not only related to a specific kind, it can be of any kind, binary or the blob or even the streaming data. So you would need a non-relational kind of a database would be needed for collecting the heterogeneous type of data. There is another question which talks about which communication protocol is suitable for remote areas, I believe. So again, it depends on what is the device we are talking, in what devices, in what context we are communicating. If it is in personal area network, we will have different kinds of protocol, be it in wired and wireless protocols are available. If it is in LAN area communication between the sensors or the edge devices or between the edge devices, so you have different Wi-Fi or Zigbee or Bluetooth 5 kind of a protocols or communication medium is available. If we are talking about wide area network in terms of need to communicate or the transmit data over a WAN distance, then you may need to look at the LTE or narrowband IoT kind of a communication interface would be useful. If you're talking about the protocol for exchanging data between the entities, again, there is no standard protocol which is out there for IoT, the IoT application. There are various set of custom protocols and various types of message exchange happening. So it's again how your system you develop or the interpreters you develop in between to get data from different kinds of devices is the key. Somebody has sent, how does it change with IoT? So I didn't get that complete context. Please share copy of this presentation. So I will ask HackerEarth team to make this available. So there are a lot of questions are coming up and I have difficulty in getting access to these questions at this point of time. So I'll work with the HackerEarth team to send or respond to these questions, as we are already completing 60 minutes of time. So we'll find the medium to answer all these questions. So I'll take one last question. What could be the possibility you see in the field of medical device industry? I am not very familiar on the medical field device or the industry, but one thing I can talk about, there are a lot of the sensors and a lot of critical parameter reading sensors which are out on the market, and those are all would get integrated into some of the devices that we may use in day out, or it can be in special devices. But I'll answer to this question later. So before I close this topic, let me recap on what we have discussed. So we talked about how IoT, the mindset which is needed in terms of to think about the new customers, and where you'll have a new set of customers who are not at all in the humans, or you would be interacting with more and more things and more things as your customer or even as your customer agents. There needs to be a huge mind shift that is needed in terms of how you approach your customers who are all non-humans. We also talked about IoT blueprint to understand what are the different layers that would help to conceptualize a system that can cut across different verticals and the different applications. We briefly looked at the connected buildings, connected homes, and connected industry use cases. And also, we talked about some of the challenges and the opportunities in the IoT field. So thank you for joining today's session. So before I conclude this, so I would like to leave a message saying that things are going to be the fundamental for the IoT and connected world. So there needs to be a lot of emphasis which are needed in terms of how do we deal with the things and how do we approach the new customers and the new use cases with a whole new approach. Thank you for joining. Have a good day.